He's going to Columbus, right?
Yeah.
Good. Just want to make sure.
That's the best way to start off this transfers episode.
So I'm looking at Transfer Market, and it has Cucho Hernandez going from Watford. It just says to leave. And for some reason, like I thought about it, I'm like, did I mess this up? It's been a long day. All right. It's been a long day. But welcome everybody to episode 34 of the Designated Players Podcast. We're here talking transfer rumors and transfers confirmed to MLS teams. Cucho Hernandez filling the Giassi Zardes-sized hole for the Columbus Crew. We'll talk about it. Gareth Bale aiming to be the second best striker in MLS behind Lewis Morgan. That's correct. We'll talk about it. Miazga coming in to fill the FCC hole and maybe push them to the Yoffs. We'll talk about it. Connor, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I am on vacation, so I am enjoying life right now.
I am 2 days away from a vacation where I'm taking 1 day off to pack up half of my apartment in my car and a second day to drive all the way up to New York to move it to a new apartment. So
yeah, back to middle of nowhere, Alfred.
Yep, but it'll be good. It'll be good. Before we dive into all of our topics, of course, scarf of the week. I see what you've got. I was going to wear the same thing, but I got a new scarf and I had to rock it. Oh, you go first.
Well, I rocked Columbus last week for John. I didn't want to go with it again. So to stay on theme, though, I did have another option. Brought out the FCC since we're talking about Miazga and his potential move there.
So I've got a scarf for every one of the teams we're going to talk about today, which is crazy.
You've got an LAFC. Oh, for Defenders of the Bank.
Yeah. So I got LAFC, FCC. Of course, I have two of them. And now, because of John Bush, I've got a really nice Columbus Crew scarf.
That is really nice.
With the old crest. It's really clean cut colors and stuff. Yeah. Big fan. It came out of the package. I'm like, yes, I approve. Very much approve. You ready to you jump right into this?
Yeah.
All right, let's start with the most obviously important transfer of the week. The rumor that Matt Miazga might be going to FC Cincinnati. Biggest move of the week, maybe biggest move in MLS history. That's for debate. So Miazga is rumored to head over to FC Cincinnati, potentially just to get himself into the mix for the World Cup. Obviously has not had a great time abroad after leaving the best club in MLS. Red Bull makes, the world takes, but the world may not use him correctly. What are your thoughts on the move itself?
I think FC definitely need defensive help. I don't know how I feel about Miazga right now. Obviously, he was a staple for the men's national team for a little while. Him and Brooks were like the definite 1-2, I feel like, at center back. But I think definitely his move to Chelsea was not good. It absolutely stunted his career. It just put him on loan to going into multiple different systems. I feel like it was definitely super hard for him to like lock down and, commit to playing well in a certain system. He definitely had like good loan spells, like the second year, I think, of Vitesse, from what I'm looking at. He had a pretty good loan spell, 3,000 minutes, 33 total appearances, I think, 4 goals, pretty high rating too on who scored. I think Reading, the first time around he played there, got 18 appearances, 1,600 minutes, pretty high rating as well. But, you balance it off with some poor ones, like his most recent one with Alaves in Spain, where he made either 9 total appearances or 9 starts and 2 sub appearances in a team that got relegated this season. So he's coming off of bad form. I guess that's my concern for him. And I'm curious to know your thoughts. I want to see if there's the bias in there for you, because obviously he's a former Red Bull, but I'm a little bit skeptical of him coming in, seeing as how his recent form is not good.
So I'd be curious to know what you were skeptical of, right? Like, to me personally, I don't don't see a massive issue with him trying to do what a lot of people should be doing, what Gareth Bale is doing, by the way. We'll talk about that later. He's moving to get minutes before a World Cup, right? If he was at La Liga, he'd be playing either, he was on loan, right? So he'd go back to Chelsea, ride the bench again, or get loaned out to a team and have to adapt to another system, another culture, depending on where he went. I mean, he's been in France, Netherlands, England, Belgium, and Spain in a 5-year span, right? Not only are you, I mean, you got to think about what happens when you go on loan, right? You're not buying a house, you're living out of a hotel, right? Maybe they have a place for you to stay, a nice, like they rent out a house for you, but you're not living in, you're not going home to the same people every day. You're probably not with a family, probably not doing much of anything outside of training and going back home. It's a good move. I think it's a good idea for him to get back into a team that needs the defensive support, right? They've had a much, much better year. But they still have those days where they're conceding massive amounts of goals. While we look at some of the fixtures here for FC Cincinnati. Right, Austin FC 5-0. Montreal 4-3. New England 5-1. Montreal again 4-3. Right, they're having these games where they're leaking tons and tons of goals. So it can't hurt them, right? Do I think he slides in and starts right away? Actually, maybe. He probably has a decent shot, right? But one of the things that I'd be really interested to see is what he was able to learn while he was away and bring it back here. Right, playing for Anderlecht, if I do remember correctly, he was being coached by one Vincent Kompany. Is that correct? Time he was there?
Yes, I believe
I'd say
so.
Who just moved to Burnley, but right, learning how to be a center back by one of the best center backs in recent memory is not a bad thing, right? You go to Alaves, it's a completely different style from Belgium. It's a completely different style from France, or right. So you're trying to advance. Maybe he doesn't fit in the Spanish system. That's fine, right? He made 24 appearances for Anderlecht under a player and played 6 times in the Belgian playoffs under a center back led coach who thought he was good enough for the job. You play in the championship. Championship and MLS are very similar levels. He did completely fine at Reading. Really would have liked to see him go back and maybe make a permanent transfer, see if he can get somebody promoted, right? But 42 appearances for Reading, and he wasn't bad enough where people were like, "Oh wow, this guy's terrible." Out there doing a decent job, right? The same thing with Eredivisie. Eredivisie probably on the same level as MLS outside of the top 4 teams. Did well there, right? So there are systems that he might not have fit into, and that's fine. But I think he would come in and do a good job. Do I think he makes the Qatar plane? No. Do I think he can get himself into form and maybe make some Nations League rosters? Probably. Now, he has to beat out a lot of players, and he's kind of, what is he at now? He's 26, so he's not super old, but he's, Chris Richards and Mark McKenzie, and all those players are a bit younger, a little bit more potential. So he'll have to prove that he's the guy. That might be tough for him to do, but I'm not saying that his U.S. men's national team future is over, but this is the move that he needed to make if he wanted to settle back in and get used to a system. So when Jurgen Klinsmann was in charge of USA, he was very adamant about trying to keep as many players in Europe as he could. At that point, Matt Miazga is 18, 19 years old, and Chelsea come knocking. This is my trip to the men's national team. Little does he know, Chelsea's not going to keep him around ever. Does he have he's got 2 appearances for Chelsea of all time. And now we're in a spot where Greg's in charge. He's got a good 50-50 mix. The level of MLS is a lot better than when he left in 2015. This is a good move for him. I'm happy with this move for Matt Miazga.
No, I don't disagree that I think it's a good move for him. I more so question his mentality coming in at this point. Talent-wise, we know he's definitely capable of being a top defender in this league. And he's only 26. You're not bringing over Jeff Cameron who's in his mid to late 30s, coming from Stoke. You're bringing in a guy who should be in the prime of his career right now. It was a former men's national team starter in the back line. The potential is fantastic for this move. I just wonder, one, the price, like how costly is this bringing in Miazga? I don't think he's obviously taking up a designated player spot, but I imagine he's probably a high TAM salary. So I think he would have to, I mean, you need him to perform well if he's going to command a high salary. I think he definitely can. I just wonder, one, does he fit into the FCC system, which obviously we have to see? And two, does this recent spell in Spain carry over at all into his performances in Cincy? I think it's worth the chance taking the shot on Miazga if you're FCC, because this is a move that if it goes right, gets you in the playoffs. Because right now they're borderline. They're kind of on the cusp of making it in. Granted, there's still a lot of season to play, but I think this is a move that can potentially secure your spot in the playoffs, which would be massive for FCC with the start that they've had as a franchise. So I don't disagree with the move. I just think that it may not necessarily be like the same Matt Miazga that many knew from the national team like a few years ago. That's what I'm wondering. What kind of Matt Miazga are we going to get?
Sure, we definitely haven't seen. I have not watched a lot of Matt Miazga in my most recent years, right? But he wouldn't be able to be a designated player. FCC are on 3 after signing Obina Nwabodo. Nearly butchered that one. From Göztepe in Turkey. So he would have to come in as a DP, as a non-DP, excuse me, as a TAM player, which I think is fine. I think they'll probably get him on a free, and from that they'll build off of that. I don't think you have I don't think that you're out of pocket with your comment there. I think his level is definitely going to be questioned, but he had a bad year at Alaves, no question. I mean, I think you saw the Twitter clip that went semi viral of him trying to play out of the back and gives it right to the striker of whatever team they were playing. That led to them conceding. I mean, the game was 3-1. It was over. It was out of reach, but they definitely weren't building a comeback after that. I think this is a reset for him. I think even if he had a bad year and he's in his own head, right, he's not getting on the plane to Qatar. At 30 years old, if he really gets into form, are we thinking maybe he's a 2026 guy? Maybe. And I'm not saying a starter. I'm saying, if we're looking at center back 3 and 4, he might, maybe he works himself in, right? But quite clearly, he can't get himself settled going on loan after loan after loan after loan. So come back here for 2 years, get yourself into form, get yourself settled, get yourself comfortable, make another move to a non-Chelsea team. Go make a move to Reading again. Go make a move to mid-level Bundesliga, right? Go test yourself in those waters where you can be successful, and you match a level that you can play at. Raise your international stock, see what you can get. But he's not going to do it jumping from loan to loan to loan to loan, getting a few minutes here, a few minutes there. He needs to be an everyday in and out player, and he can do that at FC Cincinnati, where if we look at their squad really quick, you're going up against Nick Hagland, Ian Murphy, Tyler Blackett, Alvis Powell, or Jeff Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, he should be sliding right into that back line.
Easy. Which is kind of scary because they had a whole bunch of much better players. But, right, they're easy. Very, very easy. And he would instantly be an improvement on Nick Hagland or Ian Murphy. Tyler Blackett is... yeah, he's okay. He's been okay since he came over. Alvis Powell's playing right back, and Jeff Cameron, I mean, easily an improvement over Jeff Cameron, right? So only a good move, in my opinion, for him, for his stability, to get himself comfortable to raise his stock. I think it's a good move for Cincinnati, who definitely need the help on the back line. No question. I like it all around. I think the one thing that you brought up a very good point about was price, right? What are you spending to get this guy in? Obviously, he's not going to be a designated player, but what are we giving up to get? I believe he's moving on a free. I think if I remember correctly, his contract is up June 30th. So it's up in 3 days. So they'll get him on a free if he moves. Then it's all about the money. So you're going to have to pay him a TAM salary. And even if it's a high TAM salary, right? Look at that back line and look at where you are in the standings right now. Clearly, it's done just enough, right? But if you're able to improve yourself just a little bit more in that back line, you take those 4-3 games that you're losing, they become 3-2 games, right? Those 3-2 games are 3 points, or 3-3 games. That's a point closer to playoff safe, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way you have to look at it. And again, you're not getting a ton of money for being playoff team, right? It's not like the Premier League, but still a good move on his part. I like this. I like everything about this.
So I got a really quick question for you, because I don't want to harp on Miazga too long, because
yes, you do.
We still have a few more transfers that we want to go over. But if Miazga comes back, slides into FCC and plays really well, becomes one of the top defenders in MLS, what does that say to you about MLS as a league? Does it say that it's easy, or does it say that maybe Americans struggle to adjust in Europe?
This is it better for Messi to fail or be successful in MLS? This is the same question, but from Miazga.
It's basically the reverse of that.
Yes, yeah. You're taking the same question, but instead of asking
reversing the scenario, I guess.
Yes, you're saying, I guess, what happens when he gets to be really good? It depends on the way that he's playing really well, right? So you look at players like Walker Zimmerman, Aaron Long, who are very good one-on-one defenders, great recovery runs, strong in the air. That is better than just being a part of a good team. Like, if he joined LAFC and filled in next to Chiellini, and Chiellini was doing all the work and he's just kind of hanging out there. But he's going to go to Cincinnati, where he's going to play against the Insignes, Josef Martinez, Tom Barlow. You've got all these very dangerous. I can't even say it in the straight.
You can't. No, you can't. Stop it.
Right. Cucho Hernandez, we're going to talk about in a little bit. The East is going to have some very, very interesting attacking options this year that he's going to have to deal with not a lot of help around him, right? That's the other important part we got to remember, is he's not going to have a ton of help around him. People are going to, again, you're going to have the people who are going to say, oh, it's just MLS. If he goes over there and does well, hooray, it's just MLS. Or if he goes over there and does poorly, wow, he can't even cut it, right? You're never going to win with it. But the way that, and the way that he's going to handle that, the proper way that he's going to handle that, or the coaching staffs are going to handle that, or the people who are going to value him are going to handle that, are by watching his actual performance. Because there's so much more to defending than just making tackles, right? Is he reading the play really well? Is he racking up interceptions on passes? Is he winning everything in the air? Is he commanding his defenders to be in a better spot so that they can be more successful, right? There are all these little things that people won't see just on the stat sheet that are going to be important for his stock value. And that will be, again, you're going to have your people say that, oh, well, Americans are only good in MLS, right? Sure, whatever. But at the end of the day, the people who know football, the people who know the game, will understand what is good and what is bad about it. And again, not everybody fits in well everywhere, right? Like, you look at South American player of the year, Pity Martinez. Lit it up for his Argentinian side. Second comes to MLS, he's a flop. Ezekiel Barca, same deal. Then they go back to South America, they fit in well, right? Oh, well, MLS is just not good enough for him to be whatever excuse he wants to make, right? People just don't fit in certain areas, right? Miazga fit in well in Belgium, England, and the Netherlands. Didn't cut it in France, didn't cut it in Spain. That happens. You're not going to be great everywhere. Very few people are fantastic everywhere they go. Just the way it is.
Yep. Well put.
Thanks. I know I'm really good at what I do.
Yeah, on that note, I think we should move on.
Should we move on to the second most important move of the week?
I mean, sure.
Sure. Cucho Hernandez to the Columbus Crew for, to my knowledge, a record fee for the club, if that's correct.
Are we just gonna ignore you trying to trigger all the Euro snobs by calling
Did you see the
Bale
interaction I
the
had
third
on? Did you
most?
see the interaction I had last night?
No.
So we'll do a quick little sidebar here. This guy was tweeting about how much farther clear like La Liga was, or other European clubs were from La Liga, and MLS Transfers made a comment on it, like the fact that you're talking about La Liga versus, I think it was the Eredivisie. The fact that you're talking about La Liga like it's this massive league, it tells me all I need to know about a football, you from a football standpoint. So I made a comment that said Eurosnobism is a disease. And he commented back, he said something, I'll pull it up, I'll read it, because why not, right? So the conversation goes as such. When you talk about La Liga like this, I really know what type of fan you are. Very sad. And I go, Eurosnobism is an epidemic, but at least you can get a laugh out of it. And this guy goes, Spanish La Liga is in Europe, right? How am I a Eurosnob for telling the truth? It's a joke league. And I go, I don't think you know what a Eurosnob is. He goes, no, you don't. Go freak out over MLS and leave EuroLeague talk to us. And I just laughed. I said, yeah, that's what I meant by you guys can make us laugh a little bit. Thanks for that. He goes, I don't know why you're getting so butthurt over La Liga that you've never seen a Spanish league game besides the overrated Clásico. And then I sent him this gif of a dancing cat. It says, okay. And that's where the conversation ended, because it was 11 o'clock. I wasn't dealing with that. But yeah, Eurosnobism is an epidemic, and we are here to stop it with whatever that was. The main point of that thing is this guy doesn't know what he is, but he thinks he does, because he claimed that he wasn't a Eurosnob because he was supporting leagues in Europe. So really good stuff. Really happy about that.
So do we want to actually talk about the transfer now that we've gone on this whole sidebar?
Cucho Hernandez, a young designated player signing for a club record fee. The Colombian U20 international, as well as a senior. Oh, he started the U20s, obviously, and then worked his way up to the senior national team, playing friendlies against the United States and Costa Rica, and then was capped completely on the, excuse me, sorry, I've got the hiccups. On the 17th of October against the United States, he scored a brace against the United States at Red Bull Arena.
Nice.
Yes, very good. Tons of experience all the way back for tons of clubs in Colombia until moving to Watford in 2017-18. Didn't get a lot of time there. Worked through kind of their developmental league until he made 25 appearances this season with 5 goals. Then he went out on loan he was on loan through 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, racking up 27 goals over that time while he was on loan in Spain. So quite clearly has a nose for goal. 52 total goals, 9 assists over just about 200 matches. What are your thoughts on the signing?
So right now, just kind of looking at it, seems very similar to the Miazga signing for FCC to me. This is a hole that Columbus desperately needed. You look at them in the standings right now. 17 goals conceded so far this year is fantastic. Granted, they played a game or two less than most teams, but 18 goals scored on the season is very low. And they are really lacking in the attack right now, which is surprising because they have good attacking players. This move is definitely a worthwhile bet, because if he kicks off here, it's in a much needed area for Columbus. My question, same as Miazga, is he's coming off a season where he mainly came off of the bench and Watford got relegated. So it's, he got more minutes than Miazga did, I think. However, very similar scenario to me. So is this another scenario where we wonder, like, okay, is he coming in kind of low on confidence right now? I definitely feel the same way though. I think it's a worthwhile bet. The talent is there for him to be a top player in this league, and it's something that Columbus needed. So it's absolutely a great signing, I think. Just like I would think Miazga is a good signing as well. So I would fall pretty much like in the same line here. I just kind of wonder how he adjusts coming into the league. That's obviously just the biggest question for me.
Sure. So the thing that I like to point out here is, once again, Columbus Crew have been hit with the injury bug. You've got Lucas Zelarayan, Derek Etienne Jr., and Yaya Boa and Eric Furtado all hurt. So you're going with basically a B squad, which, fine, they should still have the talent to get through that. They're struggling a little bit right now, but I don't think it's an exaggeration that if you put Cucho Hernandez in a team with those players around him, he's a top 5 striker in the league, period.
Yeah, definitely has ability.
Very similar to me of the Josef Martinez signing. I did watch a few of his highlights before we started kicking off here today. Very, very similar play style. Obviously, playing at Watford in the Premier League was a little bit too much for him, which, again, happens. Or the Championship, depending on where he was, right? But when he went over to Spain, playing up against teams that were not as successful, right? He was playing in the 2nd division in Spain, which is about probably a step lower than most MLS teams. 16 goals and 35 appearances at aged, what is he, he was 23, and that was 2017. So looking at 18, 19 years old, this kid's scoring 16 goals and in the 2nd division of Spain. That's fantastic, right? Dropped off a little bit because he's still learning his craft, but 23 years old, getting this guy on a $10 million move is massive, right? For the exact reason you just pointed out. This guy goes off, drops, a couple of 15, 20 goal seasons. You're turning him over for 15, 17 mil.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Easy,
like
especially in 2
like
to 3
Tati money for sure.
Yeah, especially in 2 to 3 years when the market's going to go a little bit more crazy. Yeah, 17 years, you might look at 20 mil, which is going to be the normal, right? By the way, in 3, 4, 5 years for MLS, but we won't get there. That's another topic. Do I think he struggles without all those players? Yeah, right. Because it's all about service. I mean, I would like to get a look at some stats here if I could, but I'd like to see how many touches Miguel Berry has had inside the box for Columbus Crew, because I feel like his service is being completely limited. I mean, you look at Columbus Crew over the last couple of game weeks, I think they've been outscored like 7 of their, or held scoreless like 7 of their last 10 games or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of zeros up here.
Yeah, so 0-0, 2-0, that's 2 out of 4, 3 out of 5.
They had a stretch of 4 league games in a row where they put up 0. And in that stretch, the only game that they didn't put up 0 is when they lost in the US Open Cup to Detroit City. So that's not a good spell. The only time they scored more than 1 goal was against DC, where they put up 3, and against Atlanta,
which isn't tough to do.
No, it is not.
Right. So one of the things I'd like to, I'm sure there's a way we can find touches. Yeah. So Miguel Berry had 19 touches. And if we look at his heat map here, I love how they do this. Miguel Berry. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even have a look. Any of his heat, none of his heat map, Miguel Berry, is inside the box. So he has, the only time he got a little bit inside the box is on the edge of the 18, where he was stopped. So in his 0-0 game against RSL, which granted RSL not an easy team this year, he has not there's no service without Zelarayán. So Cucho would struggle. That being said, once Zelarayán's healthy, Derek Etienne's playing as that kind of inside inverted winger with Pedro Santos bombing up the left wing, creating all this havoc, slipping him in. I mean, I think they're one really good signing away from helping him be elite. But man, oh man, I can just imagine like scenes of Miguel Almiron and Joseph Martinez are running through my head as I see Zelarayán breaking on a fast break with Hernandez peeling off a backside, which would be really exciting for the league and for all of that. But great use of the young designated player signing. Obviously, a guy who has a ton of potential coming over from the Premier League. Most of his time spent in Spain, but I think this is a very good look for what the league is trying to do, right?
Absolutely.
This is the type of signing that the young designated player spot was put in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even think Columbus needs to make another big signing. If they just get healthy, this team should be top of the East on paper, at least on paper.
And I mean, saying that because you picked them to finish second this year, and now you look silly.
No. I mean, look at it. They have Miguel Berry. They got Cucho Hernandez. You have Derek Etienne Jr., who was killing it at the start of the season. Pedro Santos, Zelarayán, Darlington Nagbe in the midfield, Artur, who's also hurt right now. And then obviously the back line has been super solid so far this year. They've only conceded 17 goals. But you have Steven Moreira going down the right wing as well. I mean, there is so much potential for this team. They just gotta stay healthy, and they can't seem to do it. I mean, they are the New York Mets of MLS.
I was just about to say that,
They are literally the Mets of MLS.
I was just about to say that, Do you think this encourages other players to make a move like this?
I think maybe they wait and they see how this pans out for Cucho. If he comes in, plays super well, becomes like a star here, and gets a nice move over to Europe. Let's say if he decides to go back to Europe, maybe he does a Joseph, and he sticks around. But if they can see him do well here, succeed, build up a brand, I think absolutely. Why would you not want to do that? You're struggling over in Europe to get game time, and like potentially your next move is going to be to a lower division team where you're going to get shipped off to like some random league in like Eastern Europe. Yeah, I'd move over to MLS where you can build a brand and play well, get good money.
So my last question before we can move on to some Welsh dude is about to be pocketed by Anthony Robinson in the World Cup. Damn, I was so busy trying to get to Euros now that I forgot.
I know. Well, I think you were successful in that at least.
What does this say about the state of the league for the fact that he chose to come here versus maybe trying to pick, a Spanish league where he was successful, or, go back to, Colombia or someplace in South America even?
This to me says that MLS has the spending power to beat out lower tier teams in the top 5 leagues. Maybe not in the Premier League, but in La Liga, for example. Because he could go to, like you said, a probably like mid to lower table team in La Liga where he was successful and he could play well, still be in Europe, still get, the European spotlight. But instead, no, he decided to go to MLS where he's going to forego all of that. He's no longer in the European spotlight. There's no longer any potential to make the Champions League and win all the Champions League glory. But he's coming over here where he's going to get paid really well. He's got the potential to be one of, if not the best player in this league. I think the monetary power of MLS, while still limited, obviously, with the salary cap rules, is starting to show. The potential for what the league can buy and bring in is starting to show, and it's great. It's great for the league. It's very MLS 5.0.
Not there yet. We're 4.0 still. 4.0 still, but
Well, we're transitioning to 5.0. MLS is always moving. Give it 5 more years, we'll be at MLS 10.0.
I love it. Yeah, so one of the things that I noticed in your comment, right, was the spending power. Columbus have now spent in 2 of the last 3 seasons $8 million on a center attacking mid from Mexico, and now $10 million on a striker from the Premier League. These moves are becoming more and more normal for MLS teams, right? Which is telling me one thing, that owners are willing to now spend that much money. Which, take it a step further, is telling me that we might be at a spot now, and we dive into this all like pretty much every week. We might be in a spot now to go ahead and loosen those restrictions a little bit. 3 designated players in 2014, 2012 helped the league grow. I believe we are coming up to a point in this league where 3 designated players are holding us back. Teams are starting to put money on the table for players to be successful, knowing that they can flip them. If they can find 4 players, 5 players that they can do this with, that they can convince, if I drop 10 million on you in 4 or 5 years, I'm going to get 15 million back. Let's do it. Right? We're looking at now $18 million to buy 2 different players. You tell me that happens for any team other than the LA Galaxy before 2017, and I'm laughing at you. This is such a good look for the league. And obviously we're going to talk about LA in a second, doing basically the same thing, but teams are getting ready to spend in the market. The league is ready to take off. It's time to at least add 1 more spot. I'd like to know your thoughts on that before we move on.
My thoughts are that David Beckham is rolling over right now because he tried to tell the league that they needed to do this 2 years ago. And the league didn't listen. They just punished him.
And now here we are.
Here we are going right in this direction.
David needed to wait. David needed to crawl so Cucho Hernandez could buy.
Exactly. No, I think absolutely. I 1000% agree with you. Like, you need to expand it more. There's just too much interest or potential interest to not expand the designated player spot. Make it 5. I mean, yeah, no, make it 5. Why not? I think it would be huge. You still can keep it so that there's still some, what's the right word? Disparity between the league.
Yeah, disparity, so sure.
Yeah, so that you're not seeing Man City and Liverpool challenge for the title 5 years in a row, right? You don't want to see Seattle and LAFC fighting for the title 10 years in a row. Like, we want to see the FCCs rise up from the basement of MLS to somehow be challenging for the title. Like, that doesn't happen. That very, very rarely happens in the Premier League. That's why when something like Leicester happened, it was so incredible.
Well, let me ask you this: are we not at a point where teams are turning into man? I mean, look what LAFC just did. Yeah, with an open DP slot left, Vela, Chiellini, Aranjo, Brian Rodriguez, Gareth Bale, and then you're looking at Kellen Acosta from Interleague. You're looking at a back line of Mamadou Fall, who's getting looks from all over Europe right now. Ryan Hollingshead, Cifuentes. I mean, you're looking at a team that is basically the Man City version of MLS, or MLS's version of Man City, right? And then you're comparing it to Seattle, who's basically the Liverpool, right? They're going to fight for it year after year after year. They are setting the table. And if Atlanta was healthy, Atlanta would be in there too. Right? And then you're looking at NYC. NYC is up there too. The teams that are spending money correctly are creating a little bit of disparity between themselves. Now, the thing that I think will always prevent disparity from existing is the MLS playoff system, right? When you're playing just a straight 38 games, that's all you have to worry about. You will never see like, oh my God, they slipped up and now they're out. They won't be considered, the best of the best because you've got this silly tournament cup thing. But because of that, you have one injury, you have one player who isn't at his peak performance right there, you're out of the cup and now everybody thinks you're terrible. I think we're at a point where no matter what, you've got owners now who can convince players with the increasing TAM levels, the increasing GAM levels, whatever, where you can get players like Gareth Bale and Chiellini on TAM deals and convince them that it's still enough money for them to play while going out and using your DP slots on players like Gustavo Bo, on players like Cucho Hernandez, on players like Lucas Zelarayan, who are young in their prime and ready to play. So this idea that disparity is being prevented, and again, 5 weeks ago, I was on your page. But the more that I'm watching this, the more that I'm listening to the ideas of what's being shared, you're looking at a system that just, it's going to develop a point anyway, right? Because you've got GAM and TAM that are increasing every year. That's in the CBA. You're getting more money every year. It's how you choose to spend it. You've got New York Red Bull who will spend it on Tom Barlow and Patrick Klimala, or you have LAFC who are going to go spend it on Gareth Bale, Christian Arango, and Giorgio Chiellini. There are levels to this. So your disparity is going to be there whether you've got a cap or not, right? I think we're at a point where our money level is high enough where you can have some disparity or lack thereof. So your Seattles are always going to be competitive. Your LAFCs are always going to be competitive until they sell and rebuild, right? That is going to be the key is, are they able to replace players or do they have to go through a full rebuild?
The problem is if you take the reins off too quickly here, you're absolutely leaving some teams in the dust. Because there are plenty of teams now at this point that are spending money, and it's great. New England, Seattle, LAFC, NYC, Atlanta, Toronto. It's great. They're bringing in high-profile players. They're coming in and they're willing to spend the money, but you have teams that still won't do it. Houston, RSL, San Jose, Vancouver. They just don't spend money. It's not like the appeal isn't there. All these other teams can sign them. Columbus just signed somebody. This isn't LA. This isn't New York. This is Columbus, Ohio. You can't even say like the destination is necessarily the driving factor. It's sure. It definitely is for some areas. NYC and LA, Seattle are going to draw in more attention and be a better appeal for some players. But Columbus is bringing guys in. Toronto brought people in. I mean, Toronto's probably a big area too. But New England, you know how they play in a football stadium.
NYC, they play on a baseball field. I get
exactly. But so there's just this lack of desire, or I don't know if it's lack of resources. I don't think lack of resources is really the real reason, but these other teams just don't spend. It's not like they can't. They just don't seem to. I mean, Houston started to do it a little bit. They brought in Hector Herrera. That's great. I still think that we need to see more of it, though. Like Philly doesn't really spend either. Not that they need to, because I don't want to go too much into a tangent here, but I was just thinking about how MLS is like splitting up at this point into like two different groups. You're either a team that is growing youth players, developing them and selling them on, or you're a team that's looking to poach talent from South America or Europe and buy your talent. So your buyers are like your Atlantas, LAFCs, NYCs. Your youth teams are your Red Bull, your Dallas, your Philly. So I feel like at some point teams are just going to start falling into those two buckets, but there's plenty of teams right now that are just kind of in limbo, where it's almost like they don't have an identity of like, okay, are we buying players to be successful, or are we developing players to sell on? Like, I don't know where Houston would fit into that scenario. Like, and maybe there is just like a third bucket that I'm just not considering, but Houston would definitely not fall into one of those two, in my opinion.
Connor, I very much agree with you on your statement. Everything you said there, well done. Handshake. I can't even go against anything that you just said. I think you hit the nail on the head there, my friend.
I don't want to dive into pro rel, but
oh God, here we go.
Pro rel would essentially like punish those teams for not spending if they were to be unsuccessful, which if you're going to bring in pro rel, you probably got to like really let loose the financial restrictions, in which case I do think that they would feel the pain of not spending, because right now you look at RSL, right, like they don't really spend much and they're sitting second place in the West, which is still absurd to me. I don't understand that. But I think if you really like watch LAFC bring in all these people, and I just see them skyrocketing away from RSL. So if you give other teams the ability to do that, I think they would do the same thing. RSL can only get to a certain point just relying on guys through their system, I guess. Like they gotta look to sign people using their money and sign the right people too. Obviously that's hit or miss, but they gotta try at least.
Yeah. I'm not going to dive into pro rel, but I will say this. The day that the financial restrictions in MLS disappear is the same day that pro rel becomes a thing. You can't have one without the other, and you can't do one without, if that makes sense. Like you can't have one and leave the other not around, but you can't also, like, you need them both to exist at the same time. So that's where I'll go with that. All right, you got this left winger who plays a lot of golf, hangs out on the bench most of the time, laughs about not playing, and is really excited to get pocketed by Anthony Robinson at the World Cup. And he just signed for LAFC. His name is Gareth Bale, and I don't know much about him, but if you want to share any notes about him or anything, you're more than welcome to. He's kind of irrelevant.
I think he's like from the ocean or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something about sharks. Or... Are you making whale noises?
He's from a whale.
I hate you.
Gareth Bale, 5-time Champions League winner, an absolute monster in his early days at Real Madrid, as well as most of his time at Spurs. Just a quick rundown of some more things there. 6-time Footballer of the Year for the Welsh Nationals. Top scorer at the. Sorry,
it just feels a little. I would expect like 15.
He stopped being the Welsh Footballer of the Year in 2016. Who took over that? I don't know. Aaron Ramsey, maybe.
They were probably just like, all right, we can't give it to you anymore.
This is pointless. Top scorer at the Club World Cup in 2017-18. 4-time Club World Cup winner, 3-time La Liga winner, 5-time Champions League, 3-time UEFA Super Cup, 1-time Spanish Cup, 3-time Spanish Super Cup, 1-time English Cup. Dude can win.
You know what he's gonna win? A seat on the bench when he gets benched by Opoku.
I'm gonna say, he just sit there and be like, kidding. Okay, I can only be good at this league if I can learn to be Alex McWheel. Channel it. No, so for the early part of his Real Madrid career before Zizou came in, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that he was a top 10 player in the world. Now this is 5-6 years ago now. Mm-hmm. Obviously he had a falling out with his manager, chose that he didn't want to play there anymore, continued to collect his paycheck, played a lot of golf, made a lot of jokes. But we've seen him play for the Welsh national team. This man's on a different level. When he wants to play, he can play. My question to you is, what is this move for? Is this move to get him ready for the World Cup? Or is this move to collect and I can't even say collect a nice paycheck. He's on a TAM deal. He's not a designated player. So is it just to collect a paycheck, get into a retirement mode, and play a lot of golf on Bethpage Black?
I think it's a World Cup move, 100%. And I think the reason he went with MLS as opposed to like Cardiff, for example, where he could be in Wales, is because MLS's end of season lines up very well with when the World Cup starts. So I've heard rumors about him potentially retiring. Maybe this is his final stint where he says, okay, I'm going to play out the World Cup here. Wales finally qualify. Let me join this club team so I can stay fit for the World Cup. Then when MLS season is done, World Cup is done, I'm done. I'm going to retire. That's it. Whereas if he goes to Cardiff, let's say, and he signs a 1-year contract, he's still locked in for another half a season after the World Cup's done. That maybe even if he's not retiring, it still gives him options for when the World Cup's over. So I think it makes a lot of sense for tons of people around the world who want to get fitness before the World Cup. Come over to MLS. Season lines up super well with the World Cup. Get your fitness, then you can move on right after when it's done. So that's my thought process for him. That's why I think he came here. That's what I think his purpose for coming here is just fitness for the World Cup.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think this is him saying, I'm going to go play on a really good team in MLS, right? Whether it's at the level of Cardiff or not. You're playing with Carlos Vela. You're playing with Christian Aranjo. You're playing with
Acosta.
Kellen Acosta. You're playing with Giorgio Chiellini. You're playing with the one, the only Ryan Hollingshead. There are things that you just can't pass up in life. And watching Ryan Hollingshead play from anywhere between left back, right back, all the way up to center forward are things you just cannot pass up. It's just, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But again, right, this is kind of the reason I asked the question about Cucho Hernandez, right? The fact that, and I know you mentioned maybe a lining up signing thing, right? With the fact that he's signing in MLS over the championship to stay fit for a World Cup, right? This isn't I'm going to play one more year and stay a little bit fit, right? If he's talking about getting ready for a World Cup, he is going to be pushing himself to be the best that he absolutely can be, which means he chose a league in MLS where he can do that. Now, this could be 4D chess here, 5D chess, where he's like, I'm going to go to MLS, scout Kellen Acosta so that when we play him against the US in the World Cup and he's starting over Yunus Musa because Greg's going really big brain, I'm gonna know exactly how he plays and I'll be able to beat it, right? But
I've seen that rumor. I've seen that. I think that's you're reaching for the stars with that one, but
no, so it speaks highly on what we're doing. The fact that we are creating environments that people like him want to come in. He's not joining at 36, 37, 38 like we got Ronaldo right now, which again, Ronaldo would still light this league up, don't get me wrong. But he's joining at 32. Now, here's the issue. We've seen what he did at Real Madrid, best team in the world. If he joins LAFC simply to stay fit for the World Cup, right? Obviously, he's going to push himself there. But once the World Cup comes, and I know you talk about, you can move on. What is his? So my worry with this move is he turns into what he was on the bench at Real Madrid, but because it's MLS and not Real Madrid, people start losing their mind over it. Like, oh, look at this guy. He's going there just to collect a paycheck, sit on the bench and put his feet up. Like at Real Madrid, everybody laughed about it. But they do it. He does it here in MLS. It's going to hurt our image even more. Now, am I saying don't sign the guy? No. This is a great signing. No question. This is what everybody thought the Chiellini signing was actually like. This is 10 times, 100 times better than Chiellini. Him, Vela, Aranjo are going to be unreal. I mean, unreal. Best attacking three in the continent.
Best attacking three in history.
Probably. I do worry about I do worry about the commitment level to what we're doing. Like, again, I'm not saying don't sign him, right? But this is the same thing I did with Messi, right? I'm not saying don't sign him, but what does he bring to the table? He
brings plenty to the table. He's a season removed from when he was on loan at Tottenham. Sure. He was great at Tottenham. He scored 11 goals in less than 1,000 minutes. Yeah. He's bringing the quality, and I don't think he's going to just sit on the bench and collect a paycheck. No, I think he's going to play hard.
Yeah. So I'm just being devil's advocate here, by the way. Like I'm hyped for this signing, but I do want to try and find something wrong with it just because content, yeah, right?
You want to find something wrong with it? Go look at the financial rules, because there's just no way that LAFC are staying within the MLS salary cap. Like there's just no how. Please make that transparent. I need to know. We need to study this.
I put a tweet out there that said this is either the most amazing front office job in the last 27 years of MLS, or we're getting Inter Miami 2.0. We're going to see the hammer dropped on John Thornton.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one or the other. There's no in between.
Listen, this and I tweeted at Defender of the Bank today. This roster now, with you put him on there, is Club World Cup finalist. Like, I'm not exaggerating that if they probably will make it to Champions League. If they can keep these guys around and healthy, I mean, they walk through any Liga MX team. I mean, not even close. And then go over there and you're telling me that really it's going to be these guys, it's going to be whoever comes out of UEFA, it's going to be whoever comes out of CONMEBOL. So you're going to look at the Palmeiras, you're going to look at Santos, whoever it's going to be coming out of there. You're going to look at probably Everton, I don't know, whoever comes out of UEFA as a Champions League winner. Probably. And you're looking at these guys for setting the tempo, right? But again, right, if you look at LAFC's roster and you want to talk about teams that aren't, the parity between teams and how we're not having Man Cities, right? So you're now looking at goalkeeper 3 of Crepeau, McCarthy, and Romero. We thought Romero was going to be a starter this year. John McCarthy is a phenomenal backup. Crepeau is a top 5 goalkeeper in the league. Eddie Segura, Jesus Murillo, Mbake Fall, Daniil Henry, Seta Viaga, and now Giorgio Chiellini. Any one of those 5 or 6 start on 95% of MLS teams. Left back, Diego Palacios or Ryan Hollingshead. Right back, Franco Escobar or Julian Gaines.
Or Ryan Hollingshead.
Kellen Acosta, Illy Sanchez, Jose Cifuentes, Latif Blessing, Francisco Hinella. Any one of those 5. Yes, please. Brian Rodriguez, Christian Torres, Gareth Bale. Carlos Vela or Ismail Trajuri Shroudy. Christian Aranjo, Danny Masovsky, Opoku. Tell me that team doesn't win every single Champions League game like 2-1, 3-1. And it's not close.
Do you remember at episode 100 when I think Defenders of the Bank had sent us a question of is LAFC the deepest team in history?
Yeah.
And even at that time, I think we said yes. And now they've added Chiellini and Bale to that same roster.
And they still have a DP slot open. Because Chiellini and Bale, not designated players, right? You've got Vela, who just re-signed as one. And I think you got Brian Rodriguez as the other.
What do you even sign at this point? Like, what position could you possibly even sign at this point?
The rumor, who I've heard, people, and I don't know if it's a link or it's just people saying, man, we should do this. Luis Suarez. To imagine Luis Suarez in this team.
I think people are just rumoring that because Suarez bit Chiellini.
Okay, hold on one second. I will pull something up here really quick. From my friends at Transfer Market.
I think they need a playmaker in the midfield. Cifuentes is good.
How
But I
dare
think
you disrespect Kellen Acosta like that?
Kellen Acosta does everything. They need someone else to help Kellen Acosta. I don't know. I don't know if I could put a name exactly on who I would possibly see them grabbing, but yeah, I mean this roster's disgusting. I mean, this is remember when we talked about Columbus last season, we were like, wow, this team is crazy deep, one of the deepest ever. This roster puts that to shame.
Oh,
Puts
easily.
it to shame.
Not even close.
This is like disgusting. I mean, LAFC already have a 4-point lead on the supporter shield. I mean, it's over, right? Like they've won the supporter shield.
No, it's not even close. Yeah, it'll be done. You've got Andrea Bellotti, who's going to Toronto, Divock Origi, who's going to Milan, Luis Suarez, who's still unsure, Artem Djouba. These are all on a free, by the way. This isn't people that they can pick up right now. Germain Bertarme from San Luis in Liga MX, Danny Welbeck, Dries Mertens, Edison Cavani, Keita Balde, Zlatan, Red Bull legend Frederick Gulbranson. Man, where's he up to? Jurgen Locadia, FCC legend Jurgen Locadia. Oh my God, there are the options for this team are unreal right now.
Why are they linked to Jurgen?
No, they're not linked. They're not linked.
Okay.
This is transfer market strikers on a free right now. Bro, please bring back Jurgen Locadia so we can drop 25 goals and Adam can cry. Right here, right to my veins. No, but seriously, this team is one of the best put if they're within roster rules. This is one of the best developed teams in MLS history. Like LA Galaxy dynasty, nearly put to shame.
Oh no, this team would beat the LA Galaxy dynasty. I'd say it.
Ooh, that'd be a really good one.
It would be. I think they beat them.
Interesting. No, this team is unreal. But again, it speaks to what we're doing as a league, right? We already talked about the Chiellini move, not loving it. We talked about the Gareth Bale move right now, that it has a lot more potential than what Chiellini did. Gareth Bale had other offers. Cucho Hernandez had other offers. People are turning down other offers to come play for us. And people always say, oh, well, just because you're offering them more money. That's what every other league is doing. Every other league is taking more money, putting it on the table and saying, come play for us.
You think Mbappe is staying at PSG because he loves the history of PSG? No, it's because they're paying them the fattest wage in like sports history.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you can talk about money all you want, but it's the more that we release our spending, the less people are going to have to complain about our league, right? At the end of the day, we're looking at teams getting ready to drop big money to bring good players to our league. And we talked about this months ago. At the end of the day, the quality of the play is going to be what it's going to be, but you don't get better players for less money. You just don't. You have to bring people over for money. Yeah. You open the checkbook, you get them over there. Yes, you're going to lose a little bit of parity. Yes, you might lose some teams, but what is the long-term solution? And that is what we need to look for.
And this episode gets me excited for the future of this league, man.
Tell me about it. Oh man, you're looking at the potential that we have just opened up. Pandora's box of goodness, not the bad Pandora's box, a good one. It's just you're looking at so much potential if Donnie Garbs opens his eyes and sees what he's got in front of him. Now, there are a lot of people way smarter than me who are making decisions on finances in this league. So I will not tell them they're doing something wrong. But from the outside looking in, man, it looks like it's a really good time to go start breaking the bank for players. That's just me.
Yeah, time to start changing the financial rules a little bit, loosen them a little. I think this is your It's like one of those TikToks. Don, if you come across this, this is your TikTok. This is your sign to loosen the financial restrictions.
We'll make sure it gets out there and that he sees it. You're right. Now I'm excited. So I do hope everybody enjoyed this episode, unless you have anything else you want to talk about. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode, talking a little bit about some transfers, confirmed, rumored, and otherwise. If you liked it, make sure you are giving us some ratings, giving us some likes, sharing this wherever you get podcasts. Make sure you're following us on all forms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, where we are 15 subscribers away on YouTube from 100. TikTok, where we are 1 subscriber away from 100 as of about 2 minutes ago. Massive moves. Make sure you follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you know when we go live. We're still posting clips from tons of other episodes, so you'll get to catch up on a ton of those as well. But yeah, that'll do it for us here on episode 34, the Designated Players Podcast, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.